Fjellberg off to the races. Fjellberg picks a side and finds the back of the net.
In-game and goal for the next big development in downtown Indianapolis. We get perspective from the man behind the new Indy 11 soccer stadium, owner Ersal Ozdemir. Plus, a change in leadership at a key Indiana business driver. What new leadership at the CICP could mean for Hoosier businesses, foundations, and universities. And a renaissance of sorts in Park County. How two entrepreneurs are transforming tourism in West Central Indiana. Inside Indiana Business is next.
Hello and welcome to Inside Indiana Business. I'm Gerry Dick. The Indy 11, called Carroll Stadium on the campus of IUPUI, home since the team's first season in 2014, with a short stint at Lucas Oil Stadium. But now the team could be playing at 11 Park Stadium in the spring of 2025 if Keystone Group wins approval for its ambitious plans. 11 Park could ultimately be a $1 billion project, transforming the diamond chain manufacturing site with a 20,000-seat multi-purpose stadium, plus apartments, hotel, office buildings, retail, and more. And I'm pleased to welcome back to the show the man behind the project, the owner of Keystone Group and owner of Indy 11 as well, Ersal Ozdemir. And Ersal, congratulations on the deal. I know it was a long time coming. You and others worked very hard around this. 20 sites, we were talking off camera, 20 sites you looked at. What really settled you on this diamond chain site in downtown Indianapolis?
Yeah, thank you for having me, Gerry. As we have this legislation passed in 2019, we looked for a proper site in Marion County. And we wanted to make sure that we're looking at everything possible through the process. And we had certain criteria that we needed to have part of the project, must-haves. One is the site, size. And we always personally wish that it should be downtown because, as you know, our city leaders back in the 70s created Sports Corp and went after sports as a business, not just the fun, but to build downtown and the investment for the Bankers Fieldhouse and renovation, RCA Dome, Lucas Oil, Indians, and we became a very strong convention and sports town because of that. A lot of jobs created. So we thought it would be great to continue build on that momentum to do that. And there are not a lot of cities in the country that has 3 sports venues that close to plus the convention center, and adding a multi-purpose soccer venue would have been amazing if we could find the site, because it's a large site. It's hard to do that. So through the whole discussions, we lowered the 3 sites, and this became the front runner when it became available recently.
Yeah. I want to talk to you about the project, which obviously it's a stadium, but a lot more than that. And I talked with Cushman & Wakefield's Bill French this week about this project as a multi-purpose project, and got his take on what he thinks it can become.
It is ambitious, but it's the right place at the right time. Being so close to the convention center, Lucas Oil, Elanco, Victory Field, it's just the right place for development going forward. Well, it's going to capitalize on the convention trade. It's going to capitalize on the sports dollars, things that are coming into Lucas and Victory Field. And then also it's going to connect the downtown business environment as things grow across the river with Elanco. I just see more and more people coming into that area for work, live, and play.
Ersal, you talk about that connectivity and what Indianapolis has built, and it would seem to me, as Bill French suggests there with Elanco and White River State Park, the other stadiums, that this can be a transformational project for that area.
Yes, I think that was what was really what made this the winner site, is that we in 2019 we went out, we said this is 11 Park, transformational neighborhood development, and we had apartments, retail, office, and stadium to do that. And we got lucky I mean, sites like that doesn't really come that often. This facility has been there in different versions, different for over 100 years. And really, Elanco coming in, a global company, I mean, to move a Fortune 1000 company to headquarters in Indianapolis is a once-in-a-lifetime generation. That just makes it even so much more important. Not only what we're going to do here, our responsibility is to, like you mentioned, White River Park, connecting the west side of downtown to here, us to the downtown itself, and Lucas Oil, Victory Field, the White River Park, the museums, and the concert venue to do that. So we feel like this is the linchpin for this area completely take off. Yep. It created a village, and people live, work, play year-round to do that. Stadium is just, but for stadium, it's hard to do that, so it's helping to make this dream come true.
Give us an idea. You're going to be out with renderings before too long, you know,
yes.
But the stadium itself, what fans and others can expect from the stadium? Yeah,
and in the last 15 years, there's really no major city hasn't built a soccer stadium. You know, it was only 20 some years ago the first one was built, but Nashville just opened a new 30,000 seat. Nashville used to play in our league. They were averaging 6,000 when we did 10,000. Now they did move to MLS, but you've seen that Cincinnati same way. They build a 26.5. You've seen that when these teams are building new venues, the experience is becoming very, very special. Yeah. It's you know, people that enjoy the games now, which is great, but you know, try to imagine this in a really purposely built new venue, especially in the middle of downtown, especially with all the mixed use around it. It's just going to be a special experience. We'll have our men's and women's, but that's really the smaller component of that. We've had international games before. We've had a game at Lucas Oil Stadium in 2013, 2 big European clubs. We'll have a lot of concerts. As I mentioned, you know, before, you know, at the NCAA Final Four, there was a promoter looking for a host a concert, and the White River was 6,000. We believe that you can have 25,000 plus people and a concert. So we'll actually become the largest concert venue. I'm not saying we're going to make it a concert venue, but having another venue downtown that you can host large concerts, high school games, NCAA games, being ancillary to other events that we have at the NFL, Colts, you know, Lucas Oil and baseball to do this. So we'll host some events. We'll also support other events the city hosts or the convention center hosts to make sure that people are visiting in Indianapolis having a great place to go live, workplace around the downtown. I
know you're anxious to get started, more work to do with the city and the state, but Ersal Ozdemir, congratulations on the deal. We'll look forward to following the project going forward.
Thank you. Okay. We're looking forward to it.
All right. Well, it's been almost 6 years since Mark Lauder's life took a sharp turn that thrust him into a front row seat at the White House. And he's my next guest on the Business and Beyond podcast. Lauder worked in television news in Indiana before jumping into politics. Back in 2016, he was serving as Mike Pence's deputy campaign manager during Pence's re-election run for governor. Then presidential candidate Donald Trump was just hours away from naming Pence as his running mate. Lauder describes how the news broke when a reporter recognized him waiting to board a flight from Indy to New York.
Mark Lauder, but Mike Pence's comms director on a direct flight to New York. Hang on a second, immediately tweets it out that I'm on the plane. And that's how the news broke, because even though I said I'm just going to New York for meetings, obviously the cat was kind of out of the bag.
Yeah. Some interesting stories about working in the White House from Mark Lauder on the next edition of the Business and Beyond podcast. To check it out, just go to InsideIndianaBusiness.com. Well, a big key to Indiana's economic success over the past 20 years, the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership. Next, details on a leadership change and what's next. Well, after a decade leading the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership as president and CEO, David Johnson is retiring. The partnership has grown dramatically from 30 to 113 people under his leadership, added 2 of 6 talent and industry sector initiatives, Agrinovus Indiana and Ascend Indiana. And I'm pleased to be joined on the show this week by David Johnson to talk about that growth and what's next. And David, as always, welcome to the show.
Gerry, thanks very much. It's delightful to be here.
Well, I was reflecting back, and it seems in some ways ways, the launch of BioCrossroads in 2005 seems like yesterday, but gosh, that's been, well over 15 years.
Right.
You started out as a community volunteer basically in the early 2000s, and that led to that role at BioCrossroads.
Right, yeah. Mayor Bart Peterson at the time was interested in looking at what was the next thing for the downtown Mile Square. There was a regional planning process, and he asked a business volunteer to be in it, and I raised my hand and did that. He was kind enough to let me do it. And what I became aware of was there were all these life sciences companies that were here. I knew them, their leaders, and they knew each other socially, but no one had ever thought about what could we do together. And so that's how BioCrossroads got started. And that does go back to 2001.
Give me your kind of quick assessment of BioCrossroads. Life sciences, such an important sector. BioCrossroads, such an important part of that growth. What's the impact of BioCrossroads been and is today?
It's enormous. I mean, first of all, that sector is Indiana's, in many ways, premier sort of substantive sector that we have. It always has been. It just had never been organized before. And when it got organized, there was a lot more growth that was possible. There was more supply chain to come in here. There was more development, and you still see that happening today. And that's not just BioCrossroads. That's a lot of people coming together. What BioCrossroads did, though, was to make Indiana a credible place for life sciences companies to come and develop and to realize that, hey, we're coming and joining part of something else. We knew we had one of the top 10 rated in terms of jobs and numbers of companies, sectors in the country, but no one else did. And so what BioCrossroads did was to organize that, to figure out opportunities like OrthoWorks or the Indiana Health Information Exchange or the Indiana Biosciences Research Institute or even 16 Tech. Agrinovus itself came as a BioCrossroads project. So it sparked a number of good projects. But most of all, it gave everybody a sense of who we are and what we could do. You
ultimately transitioned to lead as CEO the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership,
right.
Which is the umbrella organization for all of these initiatives. And there's been tremendous growth there. You mentioned the Indiana Business Research Institute and 16 Tech, many years in the making that now are coming to life.
Yeah, I mean, actually 16 Tech goes back to that regional planning process of 2001. Where we were looking at what was the last big piece of the near downtown to be developed, and that's where 16 Tech is today. We all had an entrepreneurial strategy to develop that. The problem is none of us knew anything about commercial real estate, and we didn't have an anchor tenant to get it started. When the Biosciences Research Institute came into being, and it did provide some financial stability there, that was the moment that the city and we and others recognized we could actually get 16 Tech started.
Yeah, it is interesting to me, too, that the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership and some of the BioCrossroads, these initiatives are nationally recognized. People in other parts of the country look to Indianapolis and are trying to copy what's happened here.
Yeah, I would say, thank you, Gerry, that's true, and I would say that the city's actually nationally recognized. So there was a book, The New Localism, put out by Bruce Katz and Jeremy Nowak in 2018, and it cites Indiana as the global best, Indianapolis, I'm sorry, as the global best practice for what they call networked governance. And what they mean by that is the right combination of public sector leaders, private sector leaders, entrepreneurs, participants all across the board, community volunteers, coming together and organizing around specific stuff to get done. And a very informal but very wide-ranging structure, no one organization doing everything, but CICP sort of being the intermediary that herds the cats and puts it together.
Unfortunately, 20 seconds to go or so, but big focus going forward as talent right at the top there?
Talent will always be right there. Technology, digital adoption is right at the top of the list. A number of things you're going to see on that. And finally, I need to mention diversity, equity, inclusion. We need to be sure that all of these conversations are far more inclusive than they have been. I'm very proud of the Business Equity for Indy initiative that we in the Indy Chamber and the Urban League are doing, and is showing tremendous progress
strong after 2 years.
Yeah,
very good. David Johnson retiring. Still got some time left.
Still got some time, and still some more stuff I want to come back and talk to you about, Gerry.
We'll look forward to that, and thanks again for your leadership.
Thanks a lot.
Too.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, do you understand cryptocurrency? Or how about Web3 companies? Next, the impact of tokenized commerce and a high-tech Indiana startup looking to cash in. It's time now to go inside innovation. Well, Indianapolis-based Tech startup Holder has created what it calls the first crypto-focused customer relationship management platform, with more now on how it works and what the future might hold for the first Web3 business to launch out of High Alpha. Pleased to be joined by Holder CEO Drew Beechler. And Drew, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
And talking about a red-hot industry that I think so many people don't know exactly what it is: cryptocurrency, digital currency. How does Holder address issues in the industry?
Yeah, over the last couple years, we've just seen a dramatic explosion in this space. There's so many new businesses being started, and a lot of these businesses are struggling with very similar problems that every other business kind of struggles with, but they lack a lot of the tools necessary to kind of help manage their business, communicate and market to their customers. And so a lot of what we're doing are building some of the early products to just help them connect to their customers in a better way.
Yeah, and real focus areas, I understand, in NFTs, non-fungible tokens.
Yes.
Explain what those are and how that relates to your business.
Yeah, and so a non-fungible token is really just a digital good that lives on a blockchain. And so you have kind of an immutable or a permanent record of who owns this asset and kind of what happened in its entire history. And so we're able to use with these customers that we're working with, kind of that are selling non-fungible tokens, they really struggle with knowing who owns this asset, and we kind of help them know who their customers are and how do you market and communicate to them in a better way.
Who are your customers, your clients, or give us a kind of a thumbnail description?
Yeah. We talk about kind of Web3 businesses as a whole, and really there's some businesses that are, I would say, Web3 native. They sell an NFT or they sell a cryptocurrency, and then there's a lot of, over the last year, we've seen a large amount of traditional businesses also launching NFT projects. So we work with Cameo Pass, which is a big startup based out of Chicago that launched an NFT earlier this year, and everyone from Budweiser and Pepsi have now kind of broken into this space. And so there's a big kind of demand on both sides of the industry, really.
You talk about companies, and again, big name traditional companies breaking into the space. Give us an idea, in your view, of the growth opportunity here in this space.
Yeah, we think there's just an incredible opportunity for growth. The industry has grown something like 220x over the last couple of years. And in particular, I think there's just so much opportunity for a lot of the traditional businesses as they move into this space too, to help them kind of come up to speed quickly in Web3 as well.
A lot of focus on cryptocurrency, kind of hotspots on the coasts, east and west coast. But as we were talking off camera, obviously Holder is one, but other crypto-related companies are popping up here in Indiana.
Yeah, it's exciting to see, and I think we have an opportunity to kind of build a new hub around cryptocurrency and Web3 here in Indianapolis, and there's definitely a good number of people that work remotely for coastal companies here in Indy, and a growing group of folks that work kind of directly in Web3 here in Indianapolis, and we're excited to be one of those based here in Indy.
Yeah, well, I should mention too, you launched, incubated and launched out of High Alpha, which is that tremendous incubator, accelerator, 30 plus companies now. Talk about that experience, and really what High Alpha, because I know you were with High Alpha for a number of years, what that means for the tech community and Indiana.
Yeah, High Alpha is such an amazing place to be, and such an amazing partner for us too. So I spent 7 years there at High Alpha, helping to start over 30 companies, and caught the startup bug myself, and super very humbled and excited to be launching this with them and get to partner with them and work with all the team that I worked with there for such a long time. Their impact on the city over the last 7 years has just been incredible, and I think there's a lot of room still to go. Yeah,
very cool space over at BottleWorks as well. So exciting story. Drew Beechler is the CEO at Holder. Cryptocurrency coming to Indiana in a bigger way. Drew, thanks for joining us, and good luck going forward.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. Well, big money, new investments, and a brighter future for West Central Indiana. Next, how millions of dollars in grant money could signal momentum in the Wabash Valley. Well, as we go around Indiana now, West Central Indiana has received a major boost to the tune of $20 million in an effort to support that region's quality of life and talent attraction efforts. The Indiana Economic Development Corporation, in conjunction with the Wabash River Regional Development Authority, awarding that $20 million to 24 regional projects spanning Clay, Knox, Park, Sullivan, Vermilion, and Vigo counties. It's all part of the IEDC's READY Grant program. One of the READY Grant recipients on that list of 24, Billy Creek Village in Park County, a longtime tourist destination there. The READY funding will help a renaissance of sorts happening in Park County with improvements that are reviving really tourism in the area, one property at a time. The goal in Park County to attract visitors from neighboring states, but also around the country and in some cases even around the globe. Well, switching gears now, in Indianapolis, the Eiteljorg Museum has reopened its Native American galleries on the heels of a nearly $55 million capital campaign. Eiteljorg President and CEO John Van Alsdal says the reimagining of the museum's Native American galleries was a capstone project of that campaign and the first major renovation of its kind since the museum opened its doors more than 30 years ago.
Upper floor of the museum. It's about 13,000 square feet, and it hadn't been redesigned or reconsidered completely since the opening of the museum in 1989. We gutted the gallery to the studs and rebuilt it from scratch, so it's very exciting.
The new galleries feature indigenous artists from the United States and Canada. Some of the work on display includes beadwork, jewelry, pottery and paintings, sculptures and glass, and contemporary art as well. Well, one of the biggest names in the Indiana tech sector is launching a new tech company called SpokeNote LLC. Founder John Wexler, who also founded Launch Fishers and the Indiana IoT Lab in Fishers, among others, says the printed stickers provide a unique code that pairs with a recorded or uploaded video. Once paired, users can scan the code on the sticker to view the video. According to Wexler, the company has come up with more than 150 different uses for the project, or the product, I should say, including greeting cards, gift cards, and instructional videos. Well, it is the 4th of July holiday weekend. If you are planning on grilling out this weekend, expect to pay more for many of your cookout favorites. The Indiana Farm Bureau releasing its annual market basket survey that shows it will cost Hoosiers about 13% more this year to serve a traditional July 4 meal, including burger, sides, and dessert. The average cost of a summer cookout for 10 people in Indiana pegged at $64.32. Well, a globally recognized name in healthcare making its mark in Indiana. In our next half hour, we'll explain why the Mayo Clinic is joining forces with 2 Indiana healthcare systems. Well, as we go to break, please enjoy these fireworks as we celebrate the 4th of July holiday. We hope you have a tremendous 4th, and we'll be right back.
A new prescription for health care in central Indiana. Details on how patients will soon have access to medical experts at the world-renowned Mayo Clinic. Plus,
NXG showed me the racing world. Motorsports really wasn't in my neighborhood or in my world, so it kind of introduced me to it and saved my life in a way.
more opportunities to use motorsports as a tool to get those in underserved areas involved in racing and the world of STEM. Plus, our panel of insiders weighs in on the impact of a new stadium coming to downtown Indianapolis and all the other headlines making business news this week. It's all coming your way next in the second half hour of Inside Indiana Business.
Well, two health systems in central Indiana are joining forces with the Mayo Clinic. Hancock Health and Hendricks Regional Health say the partnership connects Hoosiers to world-renowned health care close to home. Business of Health reporter Kylie Valletta has more. Kylie.
Thank you, Gary. Hancock Health in East Central Indiana and Hendricks Regional Health just west of Indianapolis announced this week that they've joined the Mayo Clinic Care Network. While the two hospitals are remaining independent of each other, care teams at both health systems will now have quick access to some of the best medical specialists in the world. And joining me now to tell us what this means for Hoosiers, doctors, and patients is Steve Long, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Hancock Health, and Kevin Spear, the President and Chief Executive Officer of Hendricks Regional Health. Welcome both to the show and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Good morning,
Kevin, let's start with you. What does this mean at the end of the day for doctors at both of your health systems?
Well, for both health systems, we have physicians who practice locally and stand out nationally. But no matter how good you are and how well trained you are, there's always that unique patient, that unique situation where you turn to your peers for added advice, additional consultation. And with this relationship, now our experts have experts, and those experts will be at the Mayo Clinic. And they're an email or a phone call away to help consult on some of the most difficult situations.
Some of the best experts in the world, no doubt. Steve, explain sort of the flip side of that. For Hoosier patients at the end of the day, what does this partnership mean?
Well, indeed, and you know what patients really are looking for is peace of mind. They're in the midst of a medical dilemma, and they want to know that they're getting the very best care that's possible, but they also want to be as close to home as possible. So this allows us to have the best of both worlds, because they can stay right in Hendricks County or Hancock County, and they can see their local expert who is hooked to that worldwide expert at the Mayo Clinic. So they get peace of mind, and they get the very best care close to home.
Right, and like you said, at a time when I'm sure they want that peace of mind to know they're getting the best care. All right, there's 45 member organizations that are part of this Mayo Clinic Care Network. What do you think it was about your health systems? This is a pretty elite group. What do you think caught the eye of the Mayo Clinic for both of you? Kevin, I'll let you answer that one.
Well, it was a very thorough vetting process, and I can tell you that it's based on culture, both your culture of safety, your culture of patient care. It's based on publicly available quality scores from Leapfrog, from CMS, and then it's a lot of interviews, it's a lot of discussion, it's a lot of reviewing of policies, procedures, and how we do things. And at the end of the day, both Hancock and Hendricks were privileged to ask to join this very elite group.
And I feel like this is becoming a common thing. We've been reporting on this a lot, where local health systems are joining forces with really big national names. Steve, can you explain why is this a trend in healthcare right now?
Sure, and I think we can look back to the founder of the Mayo Clinic, Dr. Will Mayo. Back in 1910, he said in order to provide the very best care for patients, a union of forces is necessary. The whole idea is that it takes more than one doctor, one mind to put into the mix to achieve that very best care. So I think that we all realize that together we are better, and this is just one of the models that achieves that.
And I want to talk a little bit about specialties that might benefit more from this, or I'm sure all of them will benefit. What specialties do you think will really be impacted by this partnership?
Well, certainly I think that oncology is a big one. We have a lot of patients that come from all over East Central Indiana to our cancer center, and the cancer comes in all different forms, and it is unfortunately one of the biggest diagnoses that we have. So we foresee that that second opinion that they can get through our e-consults with the Mayo Clinic will be incredibly important.
And what does the Mayo Clinic get? What is the benefit to them, sort of the flip side of the equation, by partnering with two local hospitals in Central Indiana?
So we've had a chance to have that discussion. You know, why us? Why this model? The Mayo, it goes back to those original comments from the Mayo brothers about a union of forces, and they have an opportunity, as do we, to work collaboratively together. They will send out questions as we do, and together we get to the right answer.
And Steve, only about 30 seconds left, but you've made your announcement just probably a couple days ago. Explain what's next. Where do you go from here, just here in the very beginning stages?
Certainly. So we will plumb the depths of all of the resources that Mayo Clinic brings to us. That includes the e-consult process, where we can get that consultative service from the Mayo Clinic, access to Ask Mayo Expert for our own physicians and nurses, so they have that access to a database 150 years in the making. So that's going to take some time.
Well, Steve and Kevin, congratulations both. I know this has been a long time. A lot of hard work went into this, so congratulations on the partnership, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks very much.
And Gary, back to you.
All right, Kylie, thank you. Well, Taiwan-based chipmaker MediaTek announced a partnership with Purdue University this week to create a new chip design center on the West Lafayette campus. MediaTek is working with Purdue to establish a partnership for a focus on chip design and engineering education, as well as joint research into computing and communications chip design. MediaTek says the center, which is expected to create up to 30 jobs, represents its first partnership with an American university, as well as a new growth model for the company. It's time now for Eye on Education. Well, racing to find diamonds in the rough, kids who have less access to opportunities when it comes to STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. That's exactly what the mission of the Penske Corporation's NXG Youth Motorsports program is. It uses go-kart racing and motorsports as a teaching tool for STEM concepts and is expanding beyond Indiana's borders to Michigan as well. And here to tell us more about it is NXG Youth Motorsports founder and president Rod Reed. And Rod, as always, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thank you.
NXG, I remember when you really launched this mid-2000, 2006?
2006.
Give us a thumbnail description of the organization and what it's all about.
Our mission is to try to help kids get a connection to the motorsports industry. And we have three sort of principles that we like to impart. As one, we use motorsports to connect them to life skills, to give them some STEM application, as well as potentially careers in motorsports and understanding what can be if they were to pursue that kind of career.
And I know Roger Penske's acquisition of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway has really been a good thing for your organization, right? Tell us about
Absolutely. Yeah, I met with Roger Penske in June of 2020, and we sat down and talked about the fact that our program had been conducting classes at the Speedway for 14 years at the time, and he was unaware of it. So he thought, boy, this would be great to have a partnership where we have a local community-based organization can be connected to his, national, if not worldwide, organization. And so we made an agreement that we would work together to see if we can't, what I call, bridge that gap between the community and the motorsports world.
Now, you're really focused on middle school students, right? Kind of 11 to 15-ish?
11 to 15, fifth grade math and science and English, up to about high school.
Talk about how you do it, because it's a weekend program, right? And you get kids in there and you meld or merge STEM principles, racing principles, and life skills as well.
Together, yes. We have an 8-hour program each weekend over Saturday and Sunday. And the idea here is that we take kids and use go-karting as the hook or the lure to get them to understand some math concepts. How does that relate to driving on the track? Because racing is all about geometry and physics, and we bring that out. And the whole idea is that you can understand that. You don't have to be a daredevil to be a race car driver. You just have to be a good mathematician at sometimes, and maybe a good scientist, and at the same time, just a good thinker, which are those skills are transferable to our lives.
Yeah, and on the back end of this is something that can feed the pipeline of the motorsports industry, which is so important to Indianapolis and to Indiana. And I think it's interesting, you've launched an Indy Lights team, right? And I've actually hired a couple of products of the program. Yeah,
we have two young men, Derek Morris and Stu Kelly. They were 11 and 12 years old in my program in the 2006-2007 curriculum, and they now are the first hires of Force Indy. And we went into Indy Lights this year, working, learning, but we've had a great deal of success. As a matter of fact, last year, that team was the first African-American-led team to win an IndyCar sanctioned event.
Wow.
And with these kids, and this just goes to show you what we can do in terms of influencing young people.
Congratulations on the success on the track and also with the program, because it's having a big impact with young people. Rod Reed, thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, what a ride it's been for Mark Lauder, my next guest on the Business and Beyond podcast. Lauder grew up in Fort Wayne, the son of a police officer, graduated from Ball State, spent the first part of his career in local TV news. Lauder then shifted gears and got into politics. One of the key figures in Mike Pence's run for re-election in Indiana as governor in 2016. That year, Donald Trump would become president of the United States, Pence vice president, and Lauder would literally have a front row seat in the Oval Office to history.
I'm sitting in front of the Resolute desk, and the president over and over again is like, do you need coffee? Do you want a Diet Coke? Is there anything we can get you? You know, are you okay? And I'm sitting there thinking, now, granted, I've been in the Oval Office many, many times, but you're never comfortable sitting in the Oval Office. I'm like, no, I'm not. You know, you don't want to say it, but I'm like, I'm not comfortable, Mr. President. You know, what do we want to talk about here? And he saw me on television, wanted to talk about the upcoming campaign, thought things were going well, and just wanted to kind of just download with me for 30 or 40 minutes. And I mean, it was just so, he was just so caring about your comfort. You can tell he's a man who owns, you know, hotels and golf courses, and, you know, he wants to make sure that the guests are taken care of.
With Mark Lauder on the next edition of the Business and Beyond podcast. You can find it beginning Monday at InsideIndianaBusiness.com. A potential snag in the Indy 11's plan to build a new soccer stadium in downtown Indianapolis. Our partners at the IBJ with news about some interesting artifacts that could be uncovered under the Diamond Chain site. Well, the stock market and its impact on Indiana companies, plus what could developers potentially find when they start turning the dirt at the new site for an Indy 11 soccer complex. Our partners at the IBJ are working on these stories and a whole lot more. And IBJ editor Leslie Weidenbender joins us now from downtown Indianapolis with more. Leslie, thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me, Gary.
A lot of attention, unfortunately, much of it in a negative light on the stock market. I know you've got a piece this weekend in the IBJ really dealing with the impact here closer to home in Indiana.
Yeah. If you're looking at your retirement fund, you know that stocks are down by double digits since the beginning of the year. But Indiana stocks have actually done a little better. If you look at the Bloomberg Indiana Index, which takes into account Indiana stocks and weights them based on how large the company is, you'll see that actually Indiana stocks overall are in the black. Not by much, but they are not down overall. Of course, that depends a lot on the individual stocks, but that's driven a lot by Eli Lilly and Company, where the stock price is way up, and also by companies like Steel Dynamics.
Interesting. Okay, interesting story you have this week, too. The secretive world of PBMs, pharmacy benefit managers.
Yeah, these are the companies or organizations that do the negotiating with pharmacies and drug companies to settle on prices that your insurance company, like a company's insurance company, will charge to its members. They're controversial in that there's not a lot of transparency about how they do their jobs, about how they set prices. And so there's going to be more state and federal regulation and more scrutiny of what they're doing. And our reporter, John Russell, wraps all that up. It's a complicated topic, but he's making it simpler.
Very good. Hey, quickly, Diamond Chain, that property in downtown Indianapolis getting a lot of attention as the site for the future 11 Park, the Indy 11 soccer stadium and more. Could be some interesting developments as they begin to turn dirt there.
Yeah, Mickey Shuey's got a great piece on the history of this site, which was Indianapolis's first burial ground. Now, most of those bodies were eventually moved, but you never know what you're going to find when you start digging. And then, of course, as an industrial site, there are probably some environmental questions. So he just takes a look at the history there.
Lots of interesting stuff. As always, Leslie Weidenbender, thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend.
Thanks so much, Gary.
All right. Well, Germany-based DHL Supply Chain is expanding its presence in central Indiana by adding an 8th distribution facility and up to 400 jobs. The contract logistics company will be opening a nearly 1 million square foot facility in Whiteland near I-65 and Whiteland Road. The shipping company acquired the building from Kansas City-based Jones Development, which is developing the Whiteland Exchange Business Park. DHL says it plans to begin operations in the Johnson County facility by September of next year. Our Insiders panel weighs in on some of the week's big stories, including leadership changes coming to the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, It's time now for a deeper dive into some of the week's top stories with our Insiders panel. I'm very happy to be joined this week by Indy Chamber Vice President, Indianapolis Economic Development, Portia Bailey Bernard. Also, Your Moneyline CEO, Peter Dunn, and also known as Pete the Planner, of course, and Bose McKinney and Evans partner, Victor Smith. And welcome one and all to the Insiders.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
I want to start about economic development. Victor, that is your bailiwick, certainly among many others. But big announcement, semiconductor announcement at Purdue.
Yeah.
Taiwanese company announcing its first partnership with an American university. Substantial investment, be about 30 jobs or so. What's the significance of this?
Well, the two things I would say. It's next generation chip design, which is really important to bring back to the United States, the first thing I'd say. The second thing, I think it's a really good affirmation to Purdue and their recent decision for the degree programs in the semiconductor field. I think this is affirmation that the market wants that. I think a lot of these semiconductor plants and investments that we've seen are going to be focused around major universities, and I think Purdue's really doing a good job to help attract some of those. Yeah. President Mitch Daniels and Dean Mung Chiang, both personally involved in that, I know, and I don't think this is the last semiconductor-related investment that we'll see up in those woods.
Interesting, as a follow-up to that, Mung Chiang, the incoming president, starts January 1. I sense he's going to be involved in a lot of these economic development deals.
Yeah, I mean, personally, we're involved in several projects right now, and we've seen his direct involvement. He is an economic development-focused person. The kind of the practical approach of Purdue being a partner with business to solve problems, rather than just the pursuit of what an academic purpose.
Yeah. A couple of big announcements this week regarding logistics and transportation. DHL announcing expanding its supply chain presence in central Indiana, 400 jobs at a Johnson County facility. Also, Jones Trucking announcing an investment in Delaware County near Muncie as well. Portia, as you look at especially the DHL announcement, a lot of jobs and presence, expanding presence. It's an important industry for the region.
It's a very important industry for the region. When I'm out pitching to businesses and companies to relocate and expand in Indianapolis, this is something we tout for folks to want to be here. Transit is just so important. It presents educational opportunities, job opportunities, business attraction and investment in neighborhoods. And so it's definitely a key component to our economy.
Yeah. It's crazy to think on all areas of the city, the Circle City at least, you keep connecting to these other cities, up 69, up 65 in the last story, 70, and the Crossroads of America is just getting bigger and bigger and better for business.
Yeah, literally the crossroads. Another connector, if you will, the recent announcement by Indy 11 of a new stadium in downtown Indianapolis, the Diamond Chain site, which is very close to Elanco's new corporate campus, White River State Park, other stadiums, Lucas Oil, Victory Field, etc. But connecting, that's been a big part of the Indianapolis success story, being very connected. This project, which is a stadium, but a lot more, residential, retail. Your thoughts on that, Pete?
People are really excited about it. Now, I'm the assistant coach of a 13-year-old girls soccer team, so I'm sort of an expert at this topic. Not only is soccer the hottest sport in America right now, but the women's Indy 11 team is on fire as well. So I'm thrilled. I will be a season ticket holder down there. I'm very excited.
Yeah. Portia, as you look at that and what that can become ultimately, soccer, of course, in the stadium, but the additional development.
I mean, this mixed-use development is going to completely transform the Southwest corridor, and it's pretty much on par with what we're seeing across the country. And no longer developers building just a freestanding stadium, but more this comprehensive district. We're seeing it in Atlanta. We saw it in Nashville. I mean, kudos to the Southwest corridor. It's going to be amazing there.
And I think the scope of the project is pretty impressive. This is a live, work, and play village, really, is what it is. And talk about connectors. It's also connecting the new Elanco headquarters right across the river. It's going to be lighting up and igniting the White River State Park expansions, I think, along the river, and then with the Lucas Oil Stadium. So it's perfectly poised to be a good connector. And it's going to be interesting to see because it takes all partners. It's going to take the city, it's going to take the state, and it's going to take private sector, which we're really good at. So look forward to this project.
Victor, as you look at this, everybody talks about talent. Do you see this project, and again, you mentioned Elanco, and what that area can become as being really a magnet for talent, whether it's for there, or just Indianapolis in general, looking at that kind of development being something that's going to say, hey, for especially younger people, say, hey, maybe I want to live there?
I think so. I mean, just, you mentioned Elanco. There's going to be about 2,000 fairly young people down there on campus here, in the next couple of years. So I think it all plays well. I really do.
Yeah. Another big story this week, an important organization for Central Indiana, much of the state, the Central Indiana Corporate Partnership, announcing a leadership change. David Johnson, who's been the CEO there for 10 years or so, announced he's stepping down at the end of the year. So a leadership transition there. There's been a lot of growth, certainly, at CICP and its member organizations, BioCrossroads and Connexus and AgriNovus, any number of those organizations. Portia, as you look at what's next for CICP?
It's exciting. I mean, CICP is a close partner with the Indy Chamber. A huge initiative we're working on now is Business Equity for Indy, which is set on creating more of an inclusive, equitable economy for Indy's Black residents. And I mean, David's just such a phenomenal leader and very forward-thinking about the key sectors in Indiana's economy and our workforce. So, I mean, I'm sad to see David go. Those are big shoes to fill, but it's an exciting time for a new voice and change.
Yeah. You know, back in the 80s when sports became a big deal in Indianapolis, you thought that would write our history for quite some time, and has. I think the CICP is in that same sort of vein with these tech companies, integration with the Tech Point, and this is a big story. I think it's really important.
And CICP has been recognized, that organization and some of the member organizations nationally, as kind of a model for other communities. Victor, as you look at it and what it has become with, again, AgriNovus, Ascend Indiana, these groups that have really begun to flourish.
It's been a good way to tie industries together and companies within certain industries together, that's for sure. It's also been a good partner, as Portia mentioned, for the economic development teams, because you can point to consortia of companies that are in Connexus, AgriNovus. You can point to those. I think this also is going to provide a good opportunity for CICP to take a look at this as an opportunity. With every change, there's an opportunity to see what is it that they want to do, that they want to focus on. Maybe they want to add some things, consolidate some things. I don't know, but I'm saying it's an opportunity for them to better what their mission and delivery skill.
As we talk about economic impact, economic development, the economy is in focus and has been for a while. Inflation, obviously, is front and center. And the Indiana Farm Bureau are out with their annual 4th of July cookout expense survey, if you will. 13% higher this year for burgers and all the things you do at your cookout.
I've solved the problem. I'm going to my in-laws. I make them pay for it. I'll say this. People love complaining about inflation, Gary. I've not seen it change behavior yet.
Really? Not yet? Okay.
Not yet. It's going to soon because it's starting to crush people.
I've warned people coming to my cookout, I'm a vegetarian now. We will have lentils, rice, and beans. No meat.
Victor, okay, crystal ball, how do you see this inflation thing playing out here, do you think?
It's inevitable, right? If conditions stay the way they are, they're going to have an impact, like Pete said. And I really just think it's a matter of time. It is, unfortunately, it's a matter of time.
Victor Smith, Portia Bailey Bernard, Pete the Planner, Peter Dunn, thanks very much for joining us, and we'll be right back after this. Well, July 4th has been celebrated as the birth of American independence after the Declaration of Independence was ratified by the Second Continental Congress in 1776. The holiday weekend, a time for parades, cookouts, and flying the stars and stripes. And it's not the 4th without fireworks to symbolize national pride and patriotism. We hope you have a wonderful 4th of July holiday.